Get ready to dive into the story. Let's jump right in! The day after acquiring the mine rune, Tanguy prepared for his dinner appointment with the chairman of Tiama Group. He dressed in a crisp suit, adjusting his collar in front of the mirror. His polished appearance made Bayang mistake his plans. "Brother, are you going on a date?" she teased, grinning mischievously. Tanguy chuckled. "No, I'm just meeting a business partner to discuss a deal." Her smile faded into concern. "You're starting another business. Last time you invested all your assets in stocks, and now you're doing business again. If you fail, won't you get in trouble?" Tanguy exuded confidence. "Trust me, I'll tell you everything after the meeting." Seeing his assurance, Bayang sighed. "Fend, but be careful. The city is dangerous right now. Ever since players started using superpowers recklessly, even criminals in prison have been escaping. So, when you're not around, I won't wander off." "Good," Tanguy said with a nod. "That's the right mindset." With that, he straightened his tie and left for his appointment. Bayang nodded, her expression serious. "Yeah, I've seen it all on the news. Every month, the number of players decreases, but the ones who survive get stronger. At this rate, social order will collapse completely. Before that happens, gaining overwhelming power and boosting Blackie's reputation will be crucial." Their meeting place was a 5-star hotel owned by Ma Jin Luo. Before meeting him, Tanguy knew he had to put on an innocent and harmless facade to gain his trust faster. Upon arriving at the hotel reception, he approached the front desk nervously and asked, "I have an appointment today, and the other party told me to contact the front desk." The receptionist immediately recognized his purpose. "Are you here to meet the chairman of Tiama Group?" "Wes." Tanguy answered with a shy smile. "Please wait in the lounge," the receptionist said, leading him to a waiting area. "The chairman will be here soon." Tanguy scratched his head, lowering his gaze slightly. Thank you." Even though no one was watching, he continued his act, tilting his head up at a 45-degree angle, gazing at the chandelier with half-open lips. His expression made him look naive and slightly odd, a trick to make anyone think he was just an inexperienced young man. Just then, a man approached him. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Tanguy?" Tanguy turned and nodded. "Wes, I am." Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, both seemed startled, though for Tanguy, it was just an act. The man who had approached was none other than Enshangya. Enshangya frowned slightly. "Hey, have we met before?" Tanguy smiled and replied, "I think so. When I was moving and giving out rice cakes, I saw you with Shu Allen, right?" Hearing this, Enshangya immediately bowed in apology. "You're right. I apologize for how I treated you last time." But deep down, he was full of doubts. How could this young man, who looks barely experienced, be a major shareholder with a 280 billion investment? Tanguy kept up his act, scratching his cheek shyly. "It's okay to know. Similarly, I didn't know the person living upstairs was the chairman of Tiama Group." And Shangya quickly waved his hands. "Oh, no. You misunderstand. My name is Enshangya, and I only work for the chairman. He'll be here soon, so I came to greet you first." A few moments later, Enshangya led Tanguy into a private room before stepping out to make a secret phone call. "Boss," he reported quietly. "This guy doesn't look like someone who could invest that much money. There might be someone powerful controlling him from behind. Please be cautious." A few minutes later, Majin Luo finally entered the private room. With a polite smile, he extended his hand. "Hello, sir. I'm Majin Luo, chairman of Tiama Group." Tanguy shook his hand, introducing himself as well. Majin Luo then called a waiter to serve the food. "Let's discuss business while we eat. I hope these dishes suit your taste." As they dined, Majin Luo carefully observed Tanguy. The more he watched, the more he felt that this young man didn't seem like someone capable of making a 280 billion investment. Who was backing him? Majin Luo wondered. A powerful brother in the family, an influential uncle. Whoever it was, I need to find out. With this thought in mind, he put down his chopsticks and spoke. "Meeting you is quite surprising. I didn't expect our major shareholder to be so young. May I ask your age?" Tanguy remained calm, unfazed by the question. "I'm 20 this year." Majin Luo wasn't too shocked. Instead, he asked, "Are you from a wealthy family?" Tongi waved his hand dismissively. Not at all. Not long ago, I was just a poor student. His words left Majin Lu deeply puzzled. Not long ago, Tongi casually explained. Recently, the news reported about someone who got rich overnight by continuously winning the lottery. That person was me. Both Majin Luo and Enshangya were stunned by this revelation. However, Majin Lu quickly followed up with a crucial question. But the news said you won only 60 billion. How did you manage to invest 280 billion into our company? Tongi smiled slightly. I just bought one stock and then I had that much. Majin Luo was momentarily speechless. Your luck and courage are truly remarkable, spending 60 billion on stocks. Even I wouldn't dare to do that. However, Tongi shook his head. It wasn't luck. He leaned forward slightly. This is the first time I'm telling anyone this. I possess the future rune. Majin Luo narrowed his eyes. Future rune. Wes. Tongi continued, his voice calm. It's a rune that allows me to see the future. In other words, I'm a prophet. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy. Both men listening to him were skeptical. Majin Lu frowned. Are you joking with us? Why would I lie? Tongi responded smoothly. Majin Lu fell into deep thought. So your consecutive lottery wins were because you used the future rune to see the winning numbers. Exactly. Tongi affirmed. And the reason I dared to invest all my money in stocks was also thanks to the future rune. Even though it all sounded logical, Majin Luo remained skeptical. Then prove it. Tell me what I'll do next. However, Tongi had already seen through his intentions using the mind rune. He knew Majin Lu was testing him, possibly with the thought of taking advantage of his ability. Thinking ahead, Tongi decided it was necessary to impose some limitations on the future rune. He shook his head. The future rune isn't something I can activate at will. It doesn't work like that, so I can't fulfill your request. Majin Luo found this explanation reasonable. A power as strong as seeing the future had to have restrictions. Otherwise, it would be too absurd. Then, as if realizing something, Majin Lu's eyes lit up. Could it be that your 280 billion investment in our company was because of this reason as well? Tongi nodded. That's right. I invested this money because I saw that Tiama Group would develop rapidly in the future. Hearing this, Majin Luo's heart pounded with excitement. Then just how big will Tiama Group become? Tongi gave him a confident answer. Within half a year, it will enter the top 500 domestic companies. Majin Lu immediately shot up from his seat, overwhelmed with emotion. If what Tongi said was true, he wouldn't just gain his father's approval. He might even be chosen as the heir. However, Majin Lu quickly calmed himself. He knew better than to get excited over something uncertain. At this point, Tongi spoke again. Mr. Ma, if you truly want to succeed, you must change your line of business. Hearing this, Enshangya immediately reacted with agitation. Change the line of business? Why not just change the company name while we're at it? He scoffed. Unexpectedly, Tongi nodded. That's exactly what we should do. If we're changing industries, the company name should change too. Enshangya was stunned. Mr. Tong, you're joking, right? But Tongi remained serious. Do I look like I'm joking? We're all participants in the game, so we understand the consequences of revealing our abilities so casually. But despite the risks, I've told you about mine because I want to be more than just a major shareholder. I want to be a business partner. From now on, I'll be involved in the company's management, guiding its growth alongside my own. Even with this explanation, the skepticism in the room didn't fade. Majin Lu and Enshangya exchanged glances, still unsure whether to trust him. Tongi sighed. It seems you still don't believe in my ability. He then decided to reveal some secrets. For example, this hotel actually belongs to you, right? You're the eldest son of the 5-star group. You secretly established this company to gain your father's approval. Before he could continue, Enshangya suddenly cut him off, his voice laced with anger. Who's behind you? Only Mr. Ma's relatives would know that. Majin Luo's expression darkened. This information doesn't prove your ability. I suspect this might be a setup by my relatives, trying to undermine me in the competition for the heir position. He shook his head. Changing the entire company's business direction based solely on a shareholder's word is ridiculous. That said, I do appreciate your investment. As for the issues you've raised, we'll discuss them at the next shareholders meeting. With that, he prepared to leave. Just then, Tangi spoke again. If I give you intelligence about the fourth round of the game, would you believe me? His words froze both Majin Lu and Shangya in place. 10 minutes later, having received the information, Majin Lu was now grinning from ear to ear. And Shangya, however, still looked puzzled. If Monsieur Tong can foresee the future, shouldn't he already be living the best possible life? Why is he helping us? Majin Luo speculated. Simple, he wants to make more money. Greed is boundless, after all. However, deep down, he knew that if Tangi truly had the ability to foresee the future, securing his partnership at any cost would be invaluable. The advantage of obtaining intelligence before each game round began was immeasurable, and Shangya opened his mouth to speak again, but was stopped by Majin Luo. Time will prove everything, won't it? Meanwhile, Tangi was already on his way home, fully confident that they would come to trust him soon enough. After all, the intelligence he shared about the fourth round was critical. This time, the task wasn't about eliminating monsters. It was about players killing each other. In this round, trusting the wrong person could mean instant death. After the fourth round, Majin Luo would undoubtedly try to win him over and protect him. So, for now, Tangi decided he would continue playing this role of a prophet, though only reluctantly. There were 28 days left until the fourth round began. In the meantime, Tangi had another goal: getting his driver's license. For the next 27 days, he diligently attended lessons and took his tests. Finally, on the last day, he held the small plastic card in his hands. His brother squinted at it as if it were glowing with brilliance. The next morning, Minju was planning to help her father at the convenience store when she noticed a sleek sports car parked right in front of the entrance, blocking the way. Irritated, she marched over, ready to confront the reckless driver. But just as she was about to knock on the window, a familiar face peeked out. It was Tangi. Minju froze in surprise before blurting out, "Tangi, is this your car?" Tangi smiled slightly. "Sorry for parking in front of the store. Get in, and we can talk." With a deep roar, the sports car sped through the city streets. Minju looked at the rapidly changing scenery outside, her emotions stirring. "This is the first time I've ridden in a car like this. It feels exciting." Tangi nodded. "I just bought it. It's my first time driving it too." Curious, Minju asked, "How much did you spend on this?" "Only 5 million. Tangi answered casually. Minju's jaw nearly dropped. 5 million. Do you know how many convenience stores you could open with that money? But Tangi remained unfazed, leaning back in his seat. This amount is nothing compared to what I've earned from having nothing. At first, Minju felt sorry for his spending habits, but then she reminded herself. Tangi wasn't just some regular guy. He was a billionaire who had $160 billion USD. His life was on an entirely different level. Still, for some reason, this felt a lot like a date. A blush crept onto her cheeks. At that moment, Tangi turned to her and said, "Minju, I have something to confess." To Minju's heart skipped a beat. A confession. Her face turned even redder. Shyly, she stammered, "Aye, a confession." But Tangi looked confused. "A confession of truth. You misunderstood." Realizing her mistake, Minju quickly waved her hands. Ha! Ha ha! Yeah, totally misunderstood. In reality, she was so embarrassed she wanted to dive out of the window. Tangi then explained, "Remember when I kept winning the lottery? That wasn't just luck. It was because I saw the future using my future rune." Minju's eyes widened with excitement. "Your future rune sounds amazing. But that's a huge secret. Isn't it risky to share it, even with friends?" Tangi smiled. "Didn't you tell me about your ability before? I figured it was only fair to you." Minju blinked in surprise. Had she really? Now that she thought about it, she had only demonstrated her ability, but never really explained it. Feeling that she should return the trust, she decided to tell him everything. "In the first round, I obtained the Guardian Rune," she said. "It allows me to code up to 5 targets within a 10-meter radius with a protective film." As soon as the words left her mouth, Minju let out a deep breath. It felt strangely comforting to finally say it out loud. Then, she turned to Tangi. "But why are you telling me your secret now?" Tangi's expression turned serious. "Because if I didn't tell you the truth, you wouldn't believe what I'm about to say next." He then told her about the intelligence he had on the fourth round. Minju was stunned by what she had just heard. The revelation of the fourth round's rules left her both shocked and uneasy. However, Tangi warned her to stay vigilant at all times. Lost in thought, Minju felt warmth spread through her heart. He shared such crucial intelligence with me. Does that mean he has feelings for me? If that were true, how wonderful would that be? Meanwhile, after returning home, Tangi also found himself deep in thought. It took me 100 reincarnations to realize that Minju likes me. The thought made him a little flustered, but ultimately, this was a good thing. If she trusted him, it would be easier to win her over. She would believe in his prophecies without hesitation. At that moment, there were only 5 minutes left until the start of the fourth round. Tangi quickly made a purchase from the store, an item called Shadow Gloves. This special equipment granted the wearer invisibility in the dark and could also turn weapons semi-transparent. It had excellent stats and worked perfectly with his Death Knight effect. As the countdown ended, all players were transported into the game. Diego's face twisted with frustration as he checked his status. The punishment he had received made him furious. Now that he had become a regional representative, he knew he might be targeted, perhaps even by his own former allies seeking revenge. A moment later, his eyes scanned the crowd until they locked onto a familiar figure. Black Scythe. All of his suffering was because of him. If he had the strength, he would beat him until he soiled himself. But right now, survival was more important. Diego took a deep breath, suppressing his anger, and approached Black Scythe with a smile. "Do you still remember the agreement from the last round?" Tangi smirked. "I remember. But I don't need such a weak follower anymore." He glanced at Diego's status screen and continued. "You've even used up your command rights. Now, you're nothing but a walking target." Diego's heart sank. Despair filled his eyes. Without Tangi's protection, how could he survive? But then, Tangi spoke again. "Relax. Even though you hold the regional representative title, not many will target you. You know better than anyone what happens to those who hold that title. Players will gradually realize it's a curse rather than a reward. As more people change professions, the command rights will become less effective, and this title will lose its value. No one will risk their lives just to use it." Hearing this, Diego let out a sigh of relief. Just then, 2 figures approached them. Tangi turned his head and recognized them immediately. Alan and Enshang. The two greeted him warmly. However, Enshang's gaze immediately shifted to Diego, his expression filled with disdain. "Mr. Black Scythe," Enshang said, "you saved us from those thugs last time. We're here to thank you." Upon hearing the word thugs, Diego's face darkened with rage. But before he could say anything, Tangi simply raised a hand, signaling him to stand down. "There's no need to thank me twice," Tangi said casually. "Once is enough." Just as he was about to leave, Shu Allen suddenly pulled out a purple magic crystal and held it out to him. "Mr. Black Scythe," Shu Allen said sincerely, "you saved my life. Please, at least accept this as a token of my gratitude." Tangi's eyes immediately lit up. He hadn't expected such a valuable treasure at this moment. Seeing his expression, Shu Allen smiled. He believed that giving this to Black Scythe was far more meaningful than just saying thank you. Tangi accepted the magic crystal without hesitation. After all, there was no reason to refuse such a valuable gift. However, his expression remained calm and indifferent, which made Shu Allen nervous. She had no idea how precious the purple magic crystal was, and worried that Black Scythe might be upset, thinking she had given him a worthless stone. Using his mind rune, Tangi listened to Shu Allen's thoughts. So she really doesn't know the value of this thing. If she did, she would never have handed it over so easily. Just then, another thought surfaced in Tangi's mind. Diego's thoughts. "I also have a piece of that broken stone. I think it's called black gold stone or something." Tangi's eyes widened slightly in surprise. He actually has a black gold stone. The black gold stone was an extremely rare item, only dropping with an absurdly low probability from monsters. Even after experiencing 100 reincarnations, Tangi had barely managed to obtain a few pieces himself. Diego, you don't know how lucky, or unlucky, you are to have this in your possession. He calmly placed the magic crystal into his backpack when Shu Ellen suddenly asked, Mr. Black Scythe, do you need a magic shield? The elf I summoned can generate protective shields for players, if you need it. Before she could finish, Tangi shook his head. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't need any help. After sending away Shu Ellen and Enshang, Tangi turned his attention back to Diego's black gold stone. He called out to Diego, who was still standing nearby. Do you realize that you're now a walking target? Diego scratched his head in confusion. Didn't you say no one would target me? Tangi smirked. There are over 1,000 players here. Some will be blinded by greed. Many haven't changed professions yet, so forced command rights are still important. Diego's face twisted with worry. Then what should I do? Tangi smiled slightly. Did you see Shu Ellen hand me a stone just now? If you give me a similar one, I can make sure you don't become an easy target. Diego's eyes lit up with relief. Without hesitation, he opened his backpack, retrieved the black gold stone, and handed it over to Tangi. Just then, a brilliant light flashed across the sky. An angel descended, its radiant wings stretching wide as its voice echoed through the air. Everyone has appeared on time, as expected. Now, I will announce the task for the 4th round of the game. The system prompt immediately followed 4th round task. Kill each other for 3 hours. Below, the crowd of players erupted into chaos. Panic and fear spread like wildfire. The angel let out a sinister laugh. This round doesn't require hunting monsters. You just need to kill the players around you. Simple, right? A player hesitantly raised his hand and asked, Do we just need to kill one person to survive? The angel's smile grew wider. Trash cannot survive. Only the top 520 players on the leaderboard will make it through. The players gasped in horror. As for how the leaderboard is ranked, that's a secret. Tangi narrowed his eyes. So the leaderboard ranking method is being deliberately hidden. He quickly analyzed the situation. The angel was just a guide for the game, while the real masterminds were the organizers. The fact that they were concealing the ranking criteria could only mean one thing. The game's true purpose wasn't just survival. The angel smiled coldly. Alright, the rules have been introduced. Now, let the killing begin. A countdown appeared before the players. 300 tried 100. Even though the task had officially begun, most players were still frozen in place, unsure of what to do. However, Diego was different. His simple mind had already locked onto a target. His so-called friends. Tangi noticed the twisted grin creeping across Diego's face, and instantly understood his intention. He walked toward Diego and said calmly, I told you I would help you avoid becoming a target. As he spoke, the death scythe formed in his hands, its dark blade glinting ominously. His posture was clear. He was about to fulfill his promise. In the next second, the death scythe swung. A single slash. Diego's head fell to the ground. System prompt, you have completed a hidden task. Defeating the regional representative within the time limit. You have received a reward low-level magic card. Tangi slowly retracted his death scythe, his face as calm as ever. Inside, though, he was ecstatic. He hadn't expected a hidden mission to be tied to Diego's death, let alone that he would receive a magic card as a reward. But he kept his emotions in check. Meanwhile, the surrounding players were frozen in shock. Black Scythe had actually killed someone. Soon, angry voices erupted. Black Scythe, how could you kill him like that? Do you have no humanity left? Tangi turned his gaze toward the speaker, activating his mind rune. In an instant, he heard their thoughts. These people had also planned to kill Diego. They were just using this moment to act self-righteous and turn public opinion against him. He felt nothing but indifference toward their hypocrisy. Diego was only the beginning. His slaughter would continue until the end of the 20th round. Especially in a round like this, where killing was inevitable. Despite knowing the nature of this round, players still acted like judges, condemning him for taking unnecessary action, and among them, some had ulterior motives. He could sense it. There were players who wanted to use this moment to damage his reputation, and even rally others to eliminate him. Tangi laughed softly. His mind rune had already exposed all their thoughts. They think this is an opportunity. To me, it's just a joke. His smirk didn't go unnoticed. You think this is funny? One player snapped. You killed someone in cold blood, and you're laughing. More players joined in, their voices growing louder. But then, System Prompt player Black Scythe has become the new regional representative. A wave of silence washed over the crowd. Everyone froze. Tangi tilted his head, watching them. Why did you stop talking? He asked casually. A moment ago you were so loud. Are you afraid now? He looked directly at the player who had been the most vocal critic just moments ago. What's wrong? He taunted. Are you scared I might give you an order? The player flinched, suddenly at a loss for words. Just then, the name above Tangi's head turned red. Seeing this unknown change, players instinctively took a step back. But Tangi already understood. This was a red name. A mark that appeared in the game when someone killed another player. And the more people killed, the deeper the color became. This was the game's way of distinguishing killers from the innocent. Players preferred to kill murderers over innocent civilians. It made it easier to justify their actions. But in doing so, they themselves became murderers, inviting others to turn their swords on them. Now, hesitation filled the air. No one wanted to make the first move. Tangi frowned. This wasn't what he wanted to see. His cold voice broke the silence. You don't have time. Kill others, or be killed. That's the rule of this round. After saying this, he turned and walked away. But even if he hadn't spoken, the players would have fought sooner or later. If they hesitated too long, there might not even be 520 survivors left to meet the game's conditions. Tangi's words sent shockwaves through the crowd. Some players fell into deep thought. Others clenched their fists. Shuan turned to Inshang, hesitating. Do we really have to kill people, like Black Scythe said? Inshang exhaled sharply. His voice was firm. If you don't kill, then you'll be killed. Black Scythe is right. We need to prepare ourselves. Discussions grew. Some players accepted reality. Others still struggled with it. But a bigger problem arose. Who should they kill first? One player suggested they target red named players. But this idea was immediately shut down. There's only one red named player. Black Scythe. You want us to fight a level 30 player? Are you insane? Tension mounted. Two players argued, summoning their weapons, but neither could bring themselves to strike first. Tangi shook his head. All talk, no action. They needed something to push them over the edge. And just then it happened. The supposedly dead Diego suddenly yawned. He stretched as if waking from a nap. As he blinked, he realized. Over 1,000 players were staring at him. His face twisted in confusion. Why is everyone looking at me like I'm a ghost? The silence was shattered by a shocked voice from the crowd. He resurrected. Did the system revive him? That single question changed everything. Hesitation vanished. If players could come back to life, then, if we revive, then what's stopping us from killing? Someone lunged forward, weapon raised. But before he could strike, a woman stepped in. Wheat, she shouted. We don't know if everyone can revive. Stay calm. Her words barely left her mouth before. A player suddenly slashed her from behind. His claws pierced through her chest. She collapsed instantly. The crowd froze, some visibly shaken. But no one stopped it. All they could do was watch and wait. 10 minutes later, the woman's eyes snapped open. She stood up, looking around in confusion. Then her expression darkened. W-O-K-L-E me. She shouted. The culprit smirked. He raised his claws again. Let's test it again. Before Hulu could react, Diego rushed forward, landing another heavy punch on his chest. Hulu gasped, struggling to breathe as he crashed onto the ground. Diego's face twisted with satisfaction. This was just the beginning. Meanwhile, the battlefield had descended into complete chaos. Players were killing each other indiscriminately, their initial hesitation long gone. The realization that death was temporary had unleashed their most primal instincts. Tangi remained calm amidst the bloodshed, watching Black Flame Dragon's corpse slowly disappear. He knew that player would return soon, but for now, The immediate threat had been dealt with. His surroundings were filled with wails, battle cries, and the metallic scent of blood. A few players had already begun forming temporary alliances, but betrayal was inevitable. No one could be trusted in a game where survival depended on eliminating others. Suddenly, his detection skill alerted him. Someone was approaching from behind. Without turning, he swung his death scythe in a wide arc. The blade sliced cleanly through the air, followed by a thud. Another enemy down. Tongi didn't bother looking at the body. He had no interest in weaklings. His focus remained on stronger players, especially those with unique abilities like Black Flame Dragon. If left unchecked, such individuals could become a serious threat. In another part of the battlefield, Diego continued his one-sided assault on Hulu. Every punch carried the weight of his pent-up rage. Hulu, once arrogant, now cowered beneath Diego's relentless blows. He tried to beg for mercy, but Diego didn't listen. The betrayal still burned inside him. With a final strike, he crushed Hulu's skull against the ground. His hands trembled, but not from fear, from exhilaration. He had never felt so powerful before. Yet, the moment was short-lived. Diego didn't stop there. He found two more friends and took his revenge on them. Unlike Diego's excitement, Shualin appeared completely numb on this battlefield. Noticing her unusual state, Anchanga asked Shuan if she felt unwell. Shuan sighed, saying she was just mentally tired. This made Anchanga's face darken. Though he could handle the current trouble, if it affected Shualini's mental health, he wouldn't have the face to see the chairman again. While they were distracted, a man suddenly appeared behind Shuan. But just as the man's dagger was about to strike, Anchanga flew over like lightning, knocking away the man's dagger. Then, with a backhand sword strike, he cleanly pierced through the man's shoulder. Anchanga didn't kill him, but instead called Shualin to deliver the final blow. Shualin raised her dagger with trembling hands, gritted her teeth, and ended the man's life after a bout of vomiting. Shuan asked how much time was left before the game ended, and Anchanga guessed at least another hour. If you're tired, you can rest. After all, you've already killed 50 players, which should get you on the leaderboard. Shualin sighed with relief, then thanked him. Anchanga, freed from this burden, had his spirits lifted. Now he no longer had to spoon-feed others, and could focus on working for his own results. Soon, the countdown was down to just 10 minutes. This heightened Tongi's sense of urgency. He absolutely couldn't miss the region-wide first-place reward. Not knowing how strong the 20th round monsters would be, he needed to grow as much as possible. But Tongi wasn't killing indiscriminately. He knew the 4th round was ranked by the number of players killed, and killing the same player twice wouldn't count for extra points. So, for the remaining time, Tongi kept looking for new faces. With the sweeping of the death scythe, the slaughter of the 4th round finally came to an end. Players were still caught up in the moment when they were suddenly enveloped by golden pillars of light. Then the angel said with a sneer, "Filthy humans, I didn't expect you'd make such a mess here. But anyway, your performance was quite entertaining. Before I announce the rankings, let me revive these corpses first." As soon as the words fell, all dead players instantly regained their vitality. Even players missing arms and legs were healed in an instant. After Hulu woke up, he immediately started cursing at Diego. However, this angered the angel.
"Filthy thing! Shut up!"
"Whoever speaks again, I'll make their head explode." Seeing everyone quiet down, the angel began revealing the hidden task as usual: defeat the regional representative within the time limit. Completing the task would earn a magic C. Only one player in the current region completed the task, and that's Blackie. The crowd was in an uproar. They thought, if I had known about this, I would have killed Diego long ago. Diego looked at his panel in fear, not knowing when he had been killed by Black Scythe. Even his temporary command authority skill was gone. After announcing the hidden task, the angel began to announce the leaderboard for this round. The leaderboard was ranked by the number of players killed, but killing the same person multiple times only counted as one kill. Many players collapsed upon hearing the rules, as their kill counts would shrink by at least half. Soon, the leaderboard appeared before everyone. A region-wide of first place of Blackie defeated 722 players. Second place is Stupid Idiot. Third place a Pegasus. Current region first place a Blackie. Second place a Cute Bird. Third place a Knight. The angel smiled contentedly, saying, "Black Scythe, I didn't expect you to take first place this time too." Black Scythe alone had slaughtered 70% of the players. Everyone looked at Blackie with eyes full of fear. After praising him, the angel began distributing rewards. As the current region's first place, Tongi received the ultimate armor selection right. He could choose one from Bronze Armor, Blood Assassination, and Dark Robe. Tongi chose Blood Assassination, which had 60 defense points and a 5% attack and movement speed bonus. Additionally, as the region-wide first place, Tongi also received a special reward. Among the three options, he chose the 5th round experience bonus. After distributing the rewards, the angel began punishing players below rank 520. The score for rank 520 was 30, so players below this level would disappear. As soon as the words fell, hundreds of players' bodies turned into light and slowly dissipated. In their final moments of life, they helplessly begged the angel for one more chance. Among them were several of Diego's friends. But seeing their desperate looks, Diego couldn't help but smile. After the punishment ended, the system announced the time for the next game and congratulated the survivors. A few minutes later, back in reality, an anxious Anchanga burst into Majin Lu's bedroom. The commotion woke Majin Lu from his sleep. Recognizing the visitor, he asked, puzzled, "Well, what are you doing here?" Anchanga explained, "I couldn't reach you and thought something had happened." Hearing this, Majin Lu smiled appreciatively. "This round of the game was mentally exhausting, so I fell asleep as soon as I returned." Anchanga said, "I see. After all, you were region-wide second place, defeating over 400 players." However, Majin Lu didn't feel proud of this. He had given his all just to get second place. What kind of monster was this Black Scythe who ranked first? If he could team up with him, perhaps future games would be much easier. Thinking this, Majin Lu wanted to first gather some intelligence about Black Scythe from the Prophet. At this point, Anchanga asked, "Before seeing it with my own eyes, I did doubt the Prophet's abilities. But now that his abilities have been confirmed, should we really make him our business partner?" Majin Lu affirmed, "After all, he's a major shareholder of the company. Even the company's fate is in his hands." Anchanga said, "But he wants the company to change direction. Should we do as he says on this point too?" Majin Lu affirmed again, saying, "As long as the company can progress, I don't care about anything else. Besides that, we need to have him on our side. Don't look down on him because he's young. Even if you don't agree with his judgment, you should praise him and follow his rhythm, because only this way can we get sweet rewards from the Prophet." Understanding Majin Lu's intention, Anchanga felt ashamed and promised to change his attitude towards Mr. Tongi. Then Majin Lu decided to have Anchanga host a party in the evening, inviting Tongi to bring his friends and family. They would also invite Shu Aline. With a beautiful woman serving, things would definitely be more efficient. The next morning, Tongi invited Minju for a meal to celebrate their survival. He insisted she could order whatever she wanted, his treat. On the way, Minju expressed her gratitude. Without his warning to defeat at least 30 players, she might not have made it back. Tongi dismissed her concern, knowing that with her guardian rune, she would have likely survived anyway. Unlike Shuan, who had grown up protected, Minju was like wild grass, strong and resilient. However, she seemed unsettled. Even at the restaurant, she hesitated to pick up her chopsticks. It was her first time taking lives, 30 of them. Sensing her discomfort, Tongi reassured her. She had done what was necessary to survive. Her family was waiting for her in the real world. His words struck a chord, reminding her why she had fought so hard. A newfound resolve settled within her, and she thanked him again. Tongi simply smiled and urged her to eat. The exhaustion from the 4th round seemed to melt away with the meal. After they finished, Tongi finally revealed the real reason he had called her there, to discuss the next round. Minju was surprised. Had he seen the future again? Tongi confirmed it. The 5th round would be the most difficult, with different regions merging. Minju immediately asked if they would meet in the game. Technically, they could, but Tongyi needed to hide his identity, so he denied it. Setting his teacup down, he warned her. The next round would be extremely challenging. She might not make it through. A shiver ran down Minju's spine, but before fear could take hold, Tongyi continued speaking. I have a way, Tongyi said. You just need to find Black Scythe and ask for his help. Minju was stunned. Black Scythe. The region-wide first-place player, Blackie. Tongyi nodded. It's not just about asking for help. It's a collaboration. You have the blessing skill, and Black Scythe will definitely need you. This is your best chance at survival. Minju still had doubts. Would a top player like him really protect me just because I can cast a blessing? Tongyi simply smiled. Minju didn't realize just how powerful her skill was. To ease her worries, he added, in the future, Black Scythe won't just work with you. Your partnership will last even into the next round. Hearing this, Minju finally let out a breath of relief. A small smile crept onto her face. Alright, then, let me thank you properly. She reached out her hand, casting the blessing skill on Tongyi once more. System prompt, due to optimal skill effect. Your attributes are increased by 50%. A warm sensation spread through Tongyi's body, making him feel light and energized. Seeing the satisfied expression on his face, Minju's heart skipped a beat. Oh no, that feeling again. After returning home, Tongyi took out the magic card while the blessing was still active. It was his reward for completing the hidden task in the 4th round. The card could grant anywhere from 1 to 5 magic stones. The better the luck, the better the rewards. Tongyi glanced at his luck stat, 84 points. Not too high, not too low. He recalled how he used to pray to the gods before opening these rewards. But after multiple experiences, he had come to a conclusion. The gods were either indifferent or the masterminds behind this cruel game, capturing 1.8 billion people and forcing them to play. If they weren't gods, they weren't far from it. The thought irritated him, strengthening his resolve to clear the game. With that, he activated the magic card. System prompt. You have obtained 5 low-level magic stones, 2 red, 1 yellow, 1 blue, 1 purple. Tongyi was taken aback. He had never received more than 1 or 2 stones before, no matter how much he prayed. Yet now, after cursing the gods a few times, he got 5. Maybe I should curse them more often. He immediately synthesized the 2 red magic stones, creating a lower-grade red magic crystal. After embedding all the stones, his attributes saw another boost. That evening, Majin Luo sent Tongyi an invitation to a party. When he told his brother, Baiyang, about it, he decided to bring him along. It would be a good chance for Baiyang to see the world. However, upon learning that the host was the heir to a major domestic corporation, Baiyang was overwhelmed. This is too much pressure. Just as the 2 brothers finished getting ready, someone appeared at their doorstep. It was Shang. I'm your driver for the evening, he explained. Upon seeing Baiyang, Shang immediately apologized for his behavior during their last meeting. Baiyang, though nervous, nodded in response. After a short drive, they arrived at Majin Luo's hotel. This time, instead of being greeted by a receptionist, Majin Luo himself stood at the entrance, waiting for them. After exchanging pleasantries, Majin Luo looked at Baiyang and asked, "And who is this?" "He's my brother," Tongyi replied. Majin Luo laughed and extended his hand in greeting. Baiyang, flustered, hesitated before shaking hands awkwardly, but Majin Luo didn't seem to mind and led them into a private dining room. As Baiyang stepped inside, his eyes widened. The room was beautifully decorated, with a long table filled with exquisite dishes. A private chef and waiter stood by, ready to serve. There's not a huge spread, but it should be enough to fill your stomachs, Majin Luo said with a smile, inviting them to sit. Just as Tongyi reached for his chopsticks, the door opened again. He turned and saw Shualin enter. "Sorry for being late," she said to Majin Luo. "It's fine," he replied before gesturing toward Tongyi. "Come, greet the company's major shareholder." Shualin followed his gaze and froze in shock. She recognized Tongyi. He was the neighbor who had once given her rice cakes. After a brief introduction, she smiled politely, though Tongyi could sense her surprise. She seemed doubtful that someone so young could be a major shareholder. Ma Jinlu noticed the way Tongyi and Bayang were watching Shu Aline and chuckled. Young men will be young men, he muttered, glad he had invited her. At the table, Bayang eagerly enjoyed the food. Seeing this, Ma Jinluo asked, "How is it? Does it suit your taste?" Bayang, his mouth full, nodded. "This is the best thing I've ever eaten." Ma Jinlu looked pleased. He had spent the whole day carefully selecting the dishes to leave a good impression. Then he casually asked, "What did you only bring your brother?" Tongyi hesitated before answering, My parents passed away. My brother is my only family." Ma Jinluo froze. The lively atmosphere turned heavy. He immediately regretted asking. Glancing at Shu Aline, he hoped she would change the subject, but she was lost in thought, sympathizing with the brothers. With no other choice, Ma Jinlu stood up. "Shu Aline, could I have a word with you outside?" In the hallway, he asked, "How's the food?" Shu Aline, unaware of his frustration, smiled. "It's delicious. I really like it." Ma Jinlu's face darkened. "I didn't bring you here just to enjoy the meal. You were supposed to entertain the guest. How can you be this careless?" Shu Aline quickly lowered her head. "I'm sorry. I thought this was just a normal dinner." Ma Jinluo took a deep breath and asked, "Didn't Inshang tell you about the major shareholder's true identity? He's not just a shareholder. He's a prophet, someone who can see the future." Shu Aline was visibly shocked. Clearly, Inshang had kept this secret from her. Seeing her reaction, Ma Jingluo's anger faded. He can foresee what's coming. If he tells us about the next round of the game, it could be a huge advantage for us. Do you understand now why we need to keep him on our side? Shu Aline quickly nodded, realizing the importance of the situation. But Ma Jingluo wasn't convinced. He leaned in slightly and suggested, "Miss Shu Aline, just smile, agree with whatever he says, and make him fall for you." Shu Aline lowered her head, feeling uncomfortable. "I can't do that," she said quietly. Ma Jingluo's expression turned cold. "I helped pave your way to stardom. Shouldn't you repay my kindness? Just do whatever it takes to create a pleasant atmosphere for him." He knew that pressuring her like this would make it difficult for her to refuse. Before leaving, he added a final warning, reminding her that he would be watching closely. Back in the private room, he found that Tongyi and Bayang had already finished eating. Smiling, he invited them to continue the party elsewhere. As they walked out, Shu Aline hesitated, wanting to say something but holding back. Just then, Bayang excitedly approached her.
Miss Shu Aline, I'm a big fan!
"You're even more beautiful in person than in your photos." He then shyly asked if he could take a picture with her. Shu Aline smiled warmly. Of course. At that moment, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ma Jingluo, instructing her to shift her attention to Bayang first. In his mind, winning over Bayang would make it easier to gain Tongyi's trust, and more importantly, to extract information about the next round. Tongyi, however, glanced indifferently at Ma Jingluo. His mind rune had already revealed everything. Shortly after, Ma Jingluo led everyone to a VIP lounge, where they could sing and enjoy unlimited drinks and snacks. Tongyi showed no interest. Instead, he calmly said to Shu Aline, "Go outside and take pictures with my brother first." As soon as they left, Tongyi turned to Ma Jingluo, his gaze ice cold. "Don't forget, I'm a prophet. Did you really think I wouldn't see your conversation with Miss Shu Aline?" Ma Jingluo froze, his pupils contracting. A cold sweat formed on his forehead. Tongyi continued, his voice firm. "If you want to do business with me, stay away from my brother." But Ma Jingluo never expected Tongyi's future vision to expose his scheme so easily. Quickly, he lowered his head in apology. "I had no bad intentions," he said hurriedly. "I just wanted to get closer to you." Using his brother regardless of the purpose was something Tongyi could not tolerate. However, since Majin still had his uses, Tongyi decided to only warn him this time. Ma Jingluo, feeling like he had just been granted mercy, sincerely thanked Tongyi for his forgiveness. But Tongyi remained cold, pursing his lips as he said, "Didn't you want to know about the 5th round? I agreed to attend your party to tell you about it. But after seeing your behavior, I don't think it's worth doing business with you." Ma Jingluo was filled with regret. and could only humbly beg for another chance. Tangi agreed but laid out a few conditions. First, he would ensure the company's development, and Majin Luo and the other shareholders should not interfere unnecessarily in his decisions. Second, Majin Luo had to trust him completely without hiding anything from him. After receiving Majin Luo's solemn promise, Tangi finally shared the information about the fifth round. It would be the most difficult one so far, requiring players to defeat 300 orcs. However, there was no need to worry, as the regions would merge, increasing the number of players accordingly. Majin Luo grew excited, immediately thinking about the implications. A region merge meant they could meet players from other areas, including Black Scythe. But Tangi shook his head, correcting him. You won't meet him next. Though I don't know him either, we will encounter him soon. Before leaving, Tangi gave one last piece of advice. Majin Luo should stop hunting Diego. Majin Luo was shocked and confused, asking for an explanation. Tangi's expression darkened, clearly disappointed that Majin Luo still lacked full trust in him. But after a moment, he still gave a response, warning him to avoid unnecessary suffering. After the party, Tangi returned home, his attention drawn to a video on his phone. The video showed players changing the world, and its appearance signaled something significant: the emergence of one of the 5 great runes obtainable in reality, the Avatar rune. Meanwhile, Majin Luo, unable to release the pressure in his heart after the 4th round, began a frenzied killing spree in the real world. The black magic within him demanded sacrifice, gaining power through death. To strengthen himself, he had no choice but to slaughter more. Yet, his victims were all evildoers. His mission as a Dark Knight was to destroy the wicked. Suddenly, he felt an eerie gaze watching him from behind. Spinning around sharply, he found only a cat staring at him. Exhaling in relief, he reminded himself that he had deliberately lured his target into this deserted alley. It was early morning, and no one should be around to witness anything. Then, a thought struck him. What if Tangi, the one with the future rune, already knew about his actions? Even so, Tangi had still chosen to cooperate with him. How interesting. The angel game had caused a drastic decline in the world's population. Society had fallen into chaos, and empowered players began committing rampant crimes. Some even formed anti-government alliances online. With everything rapidly spiraling out of control, the first thing Tangi decided to do was attend an alliance interview. Only by doing this could he obtain new runes. Just then, the door to the interview room swung open, and a fat man stepped inside. He glanced around instinctively before muttering, "This should be the right place." Seeing him, the man conducting the interview stood up and asked, "Are you here for the player interview too?" After confirming this, the interviewer continued, "What's your username in the game?" The fat man replied, "Black Flame Dragon." The interviewer then introduced another candidate. "This is Little Turkey, also here for the interview." Black Flame Dragon scoffed. "This guy looks so weak, skinny and small. Is he really a player?" Deep down, the fat man was already considering killing both of them to enhance his abilities. His rune was the Absorption rune, which granted random attribute increases based on the number of people he killed. This was why he had been so desperate to rack up kills in the 4th round. When he returned to reality, the first thing he did was slaughter all his classmates. However, since their levels were too low, the attribute increase was barely noticeable. So, he continued searching for stronger prey until he discovered that players had started forming alliances. If he hunted within those alliances, he could gain even greater power. He turned to the interviewer and asked, "Is it just the 2 of us? Can we start now?" The interviewer shook his head. "There's still one more player who hasn't arrived." Moments later, the door opened again, and a man in a black suit stepped in. He glanced at them before asking, "You're here for the player interview too. What are your usernames?" But as soon as he heard the reply, his eyes widened in shock. Then, with an eager, almost fanatical expression, he exclaimed, "Are you Black Scythe?" The interviewer immediately straightened up, his tone shifting to one of deep respect. "Please, have a seat. These 2 are also here for the interview." At that moment, Black Flame Dragon felt extremely uncomfortable. Black sighed. This was the man who had killed him 5 times in the 4th round. The newcomer smirked arrogantly. That's right, I'm Black Scythe. Tongi stepped forward, keeping a neutral expression. Hello, I'm Little Turkey. It's a pleasure to be part of the interview with you. Meanwhile, the fat man clenched his fists, his voice trembling as he introduced himself. I'm Black Flame Dragon. He wished he could disappear, but as he observed Black Scythe's reaction, he realized something. No response. It was as if he didn't even recognize him. Had killing him 5 times meant nothing. Tongi, on the other hand, had already seen through the situation. I'm not the arrogant one here. I'm simply impersonating another player. But this guy, he's the real fraud. The so-called Black Scythe was actually only a notorious scammer who had used various schemes to swindle money. Right now, he was still weak, but in the future, he would obtain the clone rune and use it for countless crimes. But not this time. This time, I'll take the clone rune that was supposed to be his. The interviewer finally spoke again. Now that everyone's here, I need your detailed information. Tongi answered first. My name is Jin Shankson. I'm 20 years old, just graduated, and currently unemployed. The interviewer nodded, checking his notes. You're a level 13 assassin class player, correct? Tongi smiled slightly. Everything he had said was true, except for his username. Little Turkey was someone else. Right now, he was simply wearing another person's identity. The clone rune required both anonymity and murder at a hidden rune location. In other words, this man had once impersonated Tongi and committed murder in order to obtain the clone rune. After everyone's information was registered, there was still one final step left. The interviewer's lips curled into a sinister smile. You just need to kill someone. Tongi feigned confusion. Why do we need to do this? The interviewer chuckled. You've seen the news, haven't you? The government has started fearing us, fearing our power. We, the players, will soon rule this world. We need to show them with our actions that players are above the law. He paused, then added, of course, you can choose to leave now. But if you do, don't expect any help from us in the future. Tongi understood the real purpose behind this. It wasn't about making a statement. They were just trying to bind everyone together through bloodshed. The interviewer glanced around. Since no one is leaving, let's begin the final part of the interview. Pretending to step out, he called over the shop owner and casually asked her to bring a car from the parking lot to the front. As soon as she did, he grabbed her throat tightly. Within moments, she lost consciousness. Leading everyone into a warehouse, he threw the unconscious woman to the ground. Who wants to go first? Then, turning to someone, he smirked. Blackie, you're famous in every region. Why don't you start? But before Black Flame Dragon could react, another voice spoke up. Can I go first? The interviewer turned, surprised. Little Turkey, you want to be the first? I thought you'd be scared. Didn't expect you to step up. Tongi slowly walked forward, passing by the interviewer. In a low voice, he murmured, I'll take the clone rune now. The interviewer frowned, not understanding what he meant. But the very next moment, Tongi's hands were already around Black Scythe's head. The sickening sound of bones snapping echoed through the warehouse. His neck twisted unnaturally. The interviewer took a step back, stunned. Dubdabu, why did you kill Black Scythe? Tongi slowly lifted his head. His expression was cold and unreadable. You talk too much. The air in the room shifted. The aura surrounding Tongi was nothing like before. Then, a system prompt appeared before his eyes. Here you have impersonated another to commit murder. Activation conditions met. Hidden rune detected at current location clone rune. Clone rune has automatically merged into the player's body. Hit, the interviewer was still in shock. Why? Why did you kill Black Scythe? Tongi reached down, picking up a mask from the dead man's belongings. Because, he said flatly, he was impersonating me. The interviewer's eyes narrowed. What do you mean, impersonating you? Tongi didn't answer. He simply walked over to the unconscious woman, grabbing a bag that had been left nearby. The interviewer tensed. What are you doing? Answer me. In the next moment, Tangi summoned his sword. The pressure radiating from him was overwhelming. With a calm gesture, he pointed his finger downward and softly commanded, "Comb." A crimson death scythe instantly materialized in his grasp. The interviewer froze. What was this scythe? Its aura was suffocating, far beyond anything he had encountered before. Some players favored large scythes as their main weapons, but this one was different. Then, as if struck by sudden realization, the interviewer's face twisted in horror. "Be Black Scythe." The words barely left his mouth before his eyes widened in panic. He replayed the conversation from earlier. Tangi had said that man was impersonating his identity. Now, looking at the figure standing before him, it all made sense. He wasn't Little Turkey. He was the real Black Scythe. Terror overtook him. His body trembled violently as he dropped to his knees, begging for mercy. But before he could finish his desperate plea, a sharp sensation ran through his body. Weightlessness. For a brief moment, he felt as if he were floating, before everything went black. Tangi never intended to spare him. If he did, more innocent people would suffer in the future. The crimson death scythe remained in his grasp, the same weapon he had wielded in the 4th round. The sight of it was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Standing nearby, the fat man remained frozen in place. He was no match for this monster. Tangi turned toward him, his cold gaze locking onto his next target. "Now," Tangi said, his voice unhurried. "It's just the two of us." The fat man swallowed hard. He knew exactly what was about to happen. "I won't beg you to spare me," he said, his voice shaky. "But I have one question. Have we met before?" Tangi's expression remained unreadable. "You want to know why I killed you 5 times in the 4th round?" The fat man nodded. He needed to understand. Tangi's answer was simple. "Because you were the most skilled player in that round." The fat man's breath hitched. "I eliminate anyone who poses a threat to me." A bitter chuckle escaped the fat man's lips. "I see. But now I don't pose any threat to you. So why do you still want to kill me?" Tangi's reply was just as calm. "Because you're also a murderer. You came here today intending to kill this woman." The fat man desperately tried to argue. "But I haven't done anything yet. I was just watching, just an observer. I didn't commit any crime." Tangi's gaze didn't waver. "Then I'll give you a chance to live." The fat man stiffened. "As a condition for your survival, hand over everything you own." The next moment, a pile of items and gems appeared before Tangi. He examined them briefly, worth about 2,000 gold coins. "These are everything I have," the fat man said anxiously. "I'm giving them all to you." Tangi picked through the loot, selecting only the gems. "I'll take these," he said. "The rest, you can keep." The fat man hesitated before nodding eagerly. "Then you'll spare me." Tangi's lips curled slightly. "Of course, I won't harm you." The fat man exhaled deeply, bowing repeatedly in gratitude. Now, it was time to clean up the scene. The fat man offered to help, but Tangi refused. As Tangi turned to leave, the fat man watched his silhouette disappear. For now, he believed he had saved his life. But then, the fat man hesitated. "I didn't do anything. Why was he treating me like a villain? Why did I have to give away my hard-earned items?" His gaze shifted to Tangi's back, completely exposed. Right now, Black Scythe had no defense. In just one strike I could kill him. If he succeeded, his attributes would surely increase dramatically. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A long axe materialized in his hand. He bent down, creeping forward, his thoughts racing. Just a little closer, just a little more. Then, in a single motion, he swung his axe straight toward Tangi's head. The blow landed. For a moment, the fat man stood frozen. Then, realization struck. "I did it." A crazed smile spread across his face. "I killed Black Scythe," he muttered, then laughed hysterically. "Black Scythe, what good is your high level? You were just a fool. Didn't you still die by my hand?" But then, nothing happened. There was no system notification. His attributes didn't increase. Confusion turned into panic. "Why, he stammered. "Why wasn't there a notification?" And then, a voice sounded behind him. Tangi's voice. "What do you think is the reason you didn't receive an attribute increase?" The fat man's eyes widened in terror. Impossible. He whipped around, heart pounding. Tangi stood behind him, completely unharmed. The fat man turned back toward the ground. The corpse he had just killed was still there, but now it emitted a faint blue glow. A moment later, it dissipated into thin air. Tangi's cold gaze met his. What you hit was my clone. The fat man's breath hitched. The clone rune creates an exact replica of myself, Tangi continued. It lasts for 10 seconds. It has no combat ability, but in the right situation it's extremely useful. But realization sank in. He had never stood a chance. Before he could react, a swift attack pierced straight through his body. His vision blurred. Darkness swallowed him whole. Tangi burned the corpses, ensuring no trace remained. With that done, he turned his gaze toward the woman lying on the ground. How long do you plan to pretend to be asleep? He asked, his voice calm. The woman's breathing hitched. You can't fool me, Tangi continued. I'm a player with mind-reading abilities. Hearing this, she slowly sat up. I didn't see anything, she said quickly. I don't know anything. Tangi observed her for a moment. Do you remember what we look like? She hesitated. The only face she had seen clearly was a man in his 40s. The others, their appearances were blurry. Tangi could tell she wasn't lying. He gave a small nod. I'll be leaving now, he said. Count to 60 before taking off your hood. The woman obeyed, waiting until she finished the countdown before pulling it off. But when she looked around, the warehouse was empty. It was as if nothing had ever happened. After a long day, Tangi finally returned to his room. He had successfully obtained the clone rune. Now it was time. Checking the time, he calculated that the 5th round of the angel game should be starting soon. As the clock struck 12th order, the world shifted. Everyone was transported back into the game. The 5th round, Tangi muttered. Finally, after the previous round, only 500 players remained. The numbers were dwindling. At that moment, an angel descended. They gazed at the gathered players and spoke, "We meet again. Congratulations on entering the 5th round." The angel's voice echoed through the vast space. In the last round, there were over 500 players. She paused, then smirked. But now, there are only about 400. Her golden eyes scanned the crowd. It seems you've been killing each other in the real world too. Murmurs spread among the players. This round's total count is now 443. She sighed, as if disappointed. Too many players have died. We can't even enjoy the game properly like this. Then, her lips curved into a smile. But don't worry. I've prepared a surprise for you. Her next words sent waves of confusion through the crowd. This round, all areas will be merged. The players exchanged puzzled looks. Merging all areas. Someone muttered. What did that even mean? The angel tilted her head, her tone almost playful. Just as it sounds, you'll be merged with players from other areas. She raised a hand, conjuring a massive screen. Your country's area has 985 players. Gasps rippled through the group. Just one country alone has so many. Someone whispered. The angel chuckled. If we include players from other countries, the numbers are unimaginable. The realization hit hard. This game wasn't just local, it was global. A player hesitantly stepped forward. But how is this possible? Does this mean there are millions of angels working together to run this game? The angel's smile didn't waver. What do you think? She asked. The player frowned. I don't believe that. There's no way millions of angels are behind a survival game. The moment he spoke, the angel vanished. Then, in the blink of an eye, she was right in front of him. Her golden gaze turned cold. That is not a question you can ask. Her voice was eerily calm. Seeking that answer will get you killed. The player's face turned pale. I'm sorry, he stammered. I shouldn't have asked something so stupid. The angel smirked. Lowly humans. Her tone dripped with amusement. You only need to follow the game's rules. From a distance, Tangi remained silent. He understood. As expected, the angels had strict orders to avoid mentioning the creator. They acted powerful, divine, untouchable. But in reality, they were just pawns, ants beneath the true creator's gaze. Then, the angel clapped her hands. Now, Let the area integration begin. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Waves of golden light surged in all directions. The once separated areas began to fuse together, their borders breaking down. The barriers that had once blocked vision dissolved. As the golden glow faded, figures appeared. Dozens, hundreds, thousands. Are these the players from other areas? Someone whispered. The angel's voice rang out again. Integration complete. The newcomers stared at them, their expressions unreadable. But their eyes, they weren't looking at rivals. They were looking at prey. For many of them, this was just a bigger hunting ground. Even though the players had mentally prepared, seeing dozens of angels floating above was still awe-inspiring. The angel smiled. Since the population has decreased, we had to merge the areas. She gestured grandly. Each 10 areas have been combined into one. She gave a small chuckle. That means your new area population is around 5,000. A heavy silence followed. 5,000 players. This was no longer just a survival game. This was a war. Your new designation is Area 7. Tongi's gaze darkened. He understood exactly what this meant. The real battles start now. Only the top 500 players of each area would survive. Once numbers dropped below 500, another merge would happen. Eventually, the entire country would be left with just 500 players. And after that, they would fight against players from other countries. This was only the beginning. The angel's voice snapped them back to reality. Before we announce your next mission, let's have a little celebration for this historic moment. Her eyes gleamed. With the area merger, we must select a new representative. The angel's voice rang out. The 10 area representatives will battle each other. The last one standing, her lips curled into a smile, will become the new area representative. A heavy silence filled the air. The area representatives turned pale. Becoming a representative was not a privilege. It was a burden. But Tongi understood something they didn't. Until now, area representatives had no real power. But from this round onward, everything would change. The angel continued, her voice laced with amusement. Don't worry, you'll be revived after the battle ends. A faint glow surrounded her as she floated above them. And from this round forward, area representatives will be granted ruler status. A murmur swept through the players. Ruler status. The angel's golden eyes glowed. This means you can forcibly control anyone weaker than you, regardless of their profession. Gasps rippled through the crowd. As long as their level is lower than yours, you can make them obey your will. She paused for effect. However, her smile sharpened. You only have 10 uses. 10 times to make another player do whatever you wish. A chilling silence followed. Then, sinister smiles spread across the faces of many players. The power to control others. What a dangerous ability. The angel clapped her hands. I see you're all excited. Her golden wings fluttered. The game will begin soon. Then, she tilted her head. Since the areas have merged, she gestured toward the other angels floating above. We angels must also choose an area representative. The angels exchanged glances. Being a representative is a hassle. One of them sighed. None of us want the position. A smirk played on another angel's lips. Then why not let the players decide for us? Another angel laughed. That's an interesting idea. The angels raised their hands, agreeing in unison. The angel from Blackie's area spoke first. In that case, let's make a bet. She glanced toward a particular angel. The surviving human area representative will determine our leader. Gasps spread among the angels. The angel from that area will become queen, with the power to rule over other angels. One of the angels frowned. Does that mean the queen can dominate all the other angels? Laughter spread through the celestial beings. How interesting. One of them chuckled. The angel from the DEA area narrowed her eyes. You're very confident in your area's representative, aren't you? The angel from Blackie's area smiled. My representative is always ranked first. Her confidence was unwavering. Is that so? The DEA angel smirked. Since you're so sure, why not join my proposal? A spark of excitement flickered among the angels. The idea was too intriguing to ignore. One by one, they all agreed. Soon after, The angels gathered all 10 area representatives. Now, it's your turn. A bright golden light filled the sky. The battle begins. The ground shook violently. Light engulfed everything. The next moment, when the players regained consciousness, they were inside a massive dueling arena. Panic spread immediately. The angel's voice echoed overhead. "Don't be afraid." She gestured grandly. "This is the dueling arena I've prepared for you." Her gaze turned sharp. "But remember, if you die outside the arena, you die for real." The players tensed. Weapons were drawn. They weren't just watching the opponents in front. They were watching their backs. At that moment, one of the representatives scanned the arena. His lips curled into a satisfied smirk. Becoming an area representative means having top combat skills. His confidence was undeniable. "I don't see anyone stronger than me." A cold glint flashed in his eyes. He possessed the disintegration rune. As long as my attack connects. His fingers clenched into a fist. The rune will instantly disintegrate my opponent. No exceptions. This rune is why I've ranked first in my area 4 times. With that thought, he moved. Faster than anyone expected. His goal was simple: to show his strength, to make others fear him, to ensure that no one dared to treat him as prey. The man smirked, full of confidence. "I'll take the position of area representative," he declared. His voice carried a boastful arrogance. At that moment, Tongi stepped forward. His pace was slow, deliberate. The air grew heavy with each step he took. But Tongi had no time to waste on these weaklings. Most of them weren't even level 20. The man grinned. "Finally," he thought, "someone's stepping up to help me assert dominance." But as Tongi's weapon came into view, his grin froze. A scythe. A massive, crimson death scythe. The man scoffed, trying to hide his unease. "With such a small frame, you think you can handle a weapon that big?" Then, his eyes landed on the name hovering above Tongi's head. His breath hitched. His face drained of color. His body trembled uncontrollably. Your black scythe." His voice was barely a whisper. A wave of terror crashed over him. Black Scythe, the top-ranked player across all areas. A legend, a nightmare. His level was above 30, far beyond anything the man could hope to match. At that moment, the weapon in his hands felt useless. Even the angels noticed something was wrong. One of them frowned. Why did he just put down his weapon? Another angel turned toward Depra, the one overseeing the man's area. "Depra, is this your representative?" Depra's brow furrowed. What was this stupid human doing? Why was he frozen in fear? Meanwhile, the angel from Blackie's area let out a soft laugh. Depra's irritation flared. "You find this funny?" The other angel smiled. "I already knew the battle's outcome." She tilted her head slightly. "But even I didn't expect it to be this amusing." Depra clenched her jaw. "My representative wouldn't be afraid." The angel's smile deepened. "Oh, then tell me." Her voice carried a hint of amusement. "Do you know why he's afraid?" Depra faltered. Her representative had taken first place in her area 4 times. What did he have to fear? The angel from Blackie's area let out a soft chuckle. "Because your representative is first in one area." She leaned forward slightly. "Mine is first across all areas." A silence. A heavy, suffocating silence. The other angels turned their attention to Tanji. The Black Scythe. They had all seen his name at the top of the leaderboard. Depra finally understood the difference between first place in one area and first place in the entire game. It was unbridgeable. Tangi didn't waste another second. The fight was over before it began. The man stood there, paralyzed. His will to fight had already shattered. He couldn't even bring himself to lift his weapon. A single strike. That's all it took. The other area representatives witnessed it all. Panic spread like wildfire. "I'm only level 13. One of them shouted. "How the hell are we supposed to win?" With each step Tangi took, the weight of death pressed down on them. One man collapsed to his knees. His voice shook. We have no intention of being your enemies." He threw his weapon to the ground. "We surrender." His voice cracked. "We all surrender." A wave of desperation washed over the arena. For the first time, even the angels were caught off guard. They had never seen such a thing before. dozens of area representatives, all surrendering at once. The angel grimaced. She refused to let it end like this. If you surrender. Her voice turned cold. Why, we'll erase you. A new wave of horror spread. Erase? That meant true death. No revival, no second chance. A complete end. The representatives' eyes widened in despair. Either way, they were going to die. One of them clenched his fists. I'd rather die by Black Scythe's hands and be reborn. Another nodded. Anything's better than being erased by an angel. The fear in their eyes shifted. No longer paralyzed by terror, they turned to face him. Even if they had no chance of winning. Even if failure was inevitable. At least this way they could live. Tangi's gaze remained cold. A faint smirk crossed his lips. You've made the right choice. But even united, you're nothing more than a group of ants. Tangi's voice was calm, almost indifferent. Before the crowd could react, he drew his black scythe. A scorching aura pulsed around the weapon, its edges glowing with ominous heat. Then, Tangi's figure vanished. In the blink of an eye, he reappeared before them. None of them had even drawn their weapons. And yet, it was already over. A wave of confused murmurs spread through the group. What just happened? We're not hurt. For a split second, they felt unscathed. But then, their bodies froze, their vision blurred. A strange numbness spread through them, and one by one, they vanished. Their bodies and consciousness faded into nothingness. The angels stood in stunned silence. They had expected a quick battle. But this, even they were shocked by how effortless it had been. Black Scythe had wiped out every representative. In a single moment. There was no struggle, no fight, just absolute domination. According to the rules, Black Scythe was now the area's new representative. Deepra, the angel of the defeated representative, gritted her teeth. You knew you'd win this competition, she said. Her voice was filled with unwillingness. The angel from Blackie's area gave a slight smile. Of course I had confidence, she replied. Deepra wasn't convinced. She had never doubted her own victory. Becoming queen had seemed like a certainty, and yet, she had lost. The angel from Blackie's area glanced at the others. The competition is over, she said. As angels, we must follow the rules. We shouldn't act foolishly in front of humans. With that, the angel officially announced the results. Black Scythe will now serve as this area's sole representative. As a reward, he gained the temporary skill, Dominator. With it, he could command players to do anything. However, the skill was ineffective against higher-level players. It was expected. Black Scythe had become the area representative. With the competition settled, the fallen representatives were revived. Deepra, still reluctant, finally spoke. From this moment forward, the area representative is Black Scythe. With that, the 5th round of the game was set to begin. The angel continued. For this round, we've increased the difficulty. Your task, kill 300 orcs within 10 hours. At first, the players weren't worried. Orcs weren't particularly strong. But, the angel smirked. This time, we've added a few modifications. The players exchanged uneasy glances. They began whispering, wondering what kind of trick the angels had planned. Deepra didn't bother explaining. She simply said, You'll understand soon. Then, another question was raised. The subtask is to collect balanced stones. But why is the reward unknown? The angel replied, For this round, all subtask rewards are hidden. You'll find out when someone completes it, but Tangi already knew. The reward was the balance rune, and the subtask's difficulty would be even greater than the main task. In fact, even completing the subtask might not be enough to obtain the balance rune. The angel added, There are only 4 balance stones in this entire area, which means only one person can complete the subtask. And even then, there's no guarantee that one person will collect all 4. A dark realization settled over the players. You can always kill each other for the stones, the angel said casually. Dead players cannot be resurrected. And with that, the angels vanished into the heavenly realm. The first thing Tangi needed to do was complete the task, kill 300 orcs. The other players hesitated, but soon, many began following Tangi. With the increased difficulty, sticking with the strongest player seemed logical. One player frowned. Are you really going to follow him? He asked. He's the area representative. Another smirked. Why? You afraid of being his slave? We all know Blackie's strength. He can complete tasks quickly. By following him, we can learn from his experience and reduce many dangers. Someone said. A group of players followed Tangi closely as they arrived at an orc village. The orcs had already noticed their presence, and without hesitation, they charged toward Tangi. However, in the blink of an eye, the first orc was already slain. This village wasn't very large, maybe 50 or 60 orcs in total. As soon as they saw the players, the orcs rose from their positions, lifting their massive stone axes and rushing forward. But it didn't matter. 3 more orcs were cut down instantly. Tangi moved through the village, slaughtering every orc in sight, without a second thought. No dwelling was left untouched. The players watching him were stunned by how effortlessly he handled them. Orcs seem weak. One of them muttered, "If it's like this, we should be able to complete the task easily." Encouraged by what they saw, the players formed groups and spread out to hunt orcs in other villages. Soon, they discovered a much larger village, 3 times the size of the one Tangi had just cleared. But this time, as soon as they approached, a loud horn echoed through the air. The entire orc village came to life. Hundreds of orcs mobilized at once. Before the players could even process what was happening, they found themselves completely surrounded. Fear started creeping into their expressions. Don't panic, someone reassured them. They probably just have greater numbers. Encouraged, a man at the front charged forward. They must be weak, he shouted. The clash of weapons rang through the air. At first, it seemed like their assumption was correct. The orcs' attack patterns were slow and clumsy. Seeing this, the players' confidence grew, and they stabbed at the creatures without hesitation. One player smirked. See, defeating orcs is easy. But, the next moment his expression twisted in horror. His weapon wouldn't budge. It was stuck in the orc's body. Before he could react, a massive blow sent him flying. Suddenly, screams filled the battlefield. Other players also realized something was wrong. Their weapons were trapped inside the orcs' bodies. One by one, they were slaughtered. Far away, Tangi was still moving through the villages, completing his task. Glancing back, he murmured to himself, "Where did all those people who were following me go?" A group of 23 players had been trailing him earlier. Now, they had vanished. If they had stuck to smaller villages like him, they wouldn't have been in any danger. But large villages with horns were different. These villages typically had around 300 orcs living together, and in the 5th round, orcs were not like before. This was a new level of danger. With his final strike, Tangi completed his task of killing 300 orcs. It took only 1 hour. Out of nearly 5,000 players participating, Tangi was still the first to finish. Now that the main task was complete, he knew what he needed to do next. Help her. We end the story here for now. Check us out for more stuff, and don't forget to tune in the next time!